Hey, good morning.
Are we having an acid flashback together? Your piece, of course, fantastic as usual. PressRun Media the media is Hunter Biden debacle, Whitewater 2. I mean, here we go again, right?
If there's a Democrat and there's paperwork and there's prosecutors, for some reason, the press just can't stop reporting the story. You know, the Ginny Thomas insurrection story was basically marched off the stage after 3 days by the same news outlets that are now in year 3 of Hunter Biden stories.
Yeah.
So the piece I did, there was clearly a choreographed push last week. Wall Street Journal, CNN, Washington Post, all within 36 hours, all miraculously, just out of the blue, had deep dive updates on the Hunter Biden investigation. And none of them really unearthed anything new. But this is how the game is played. Not one of them, this is what was really interesting to me, not one of them even bothered trying to explain why this story matters. The press is at the point where the Fox News and the GOP have talked about Hunter Biden so often. They cannot explain, in particular the Washington Post, they took a slightly different tack. They did a inside 5-year-old energy deal he had with a Chinese company. And they, again, don't even bother trying to explain why and who cares.
Right.
Literally, who cares?
Right.
It was a venture that was around for a year, then it wasn't. He got paid in the scheme of things, not that much money. Yes, there's an outstanding investigation in terms of maybe a tax liability. Last year he paid back a ton of taxes. This is a small stakes tax case that has produced a ridiculous amount of media attention. And like I said, and just real quick, over all these years, never a shred, a sentence suggesting Joe Biden knew anything about his son's business dealings, interfered, got involved, or profited anyway.
You're the only
Biden Hunter has never run for office. He's never served in the government. He's never lobbied to change U.S. policies. He's never been an advisor for his father. There is literally nothing here. And ABC News this week, yesterday, mentioned Hunter Biden 19 times on their show.
Yeah, and as you're the one that's pointed out, Hunter began making overseas energy deals as his father was leaving office in 2016. Still, the media fixation continues. Nothing about Jared and Ivanka and how many millions they made while White House advisors during the presidency, Chinese trademarks, you name it. And you're right. It's like when you go into all the specifics, Eric, it becomes like how ridiculous this whole thing is. You said one White House reporter from CBS doing his best Fox impression asked Biden if he would take the extraordinary step of pardoning Hunter, who's not accused of any crime. I mean, this is where we are with this coverage, right?
And it just reeks of both sides, right? You mentioned the Trump, the Trump criminal enterprise and his kids. So there's clearly a feeling from the Beltway press, we did some reporting on the Trump kids and Ivanka and conflicts of interest and the hotel. So we have to do Biden. We have to do Democrats. We have to pretend everyone is corrupt. We have to pretend there are no rules. We have to pretend the Biden family is flaunting all ethical guidelines, even though, we're 15 months into this administration. There hasn't been a whiff. There hasn't been 10 minutes of scandal in 15 months from this West Wing. Nothing about ethical missteps, nothing about conflicts of interest. So it like I said, it just reeks of both sides. The Trumps did it, so we have to pretend the Bidens are doing it because that way we prove we're tough on everybody.
Yeah, well, and as you said, these hand-delivered leaks arrived at the same time we're learning even more about Trump White House's criminality, the January 6th coup, etc. And you said the recent revelation about the Supreme Court justice's wife, working with the Trump White House to overturn an election has evaporated, as you said, in less than a week, while they've completely taken the hook on this Hunter Biden thing. Again, you said after years of media focus, there's nothing to suggest Joe Biden was involved, as you say, in any way, that he ever did anything remotely unethical in connection with Hunter's career. The son has, as you say, never run for office, never been in the government, never influenced anything. And it's like we're taking crazy pills, that you're like, these other huge stories about that. And then you keep looking for the there. And the Hunters, you're like, okay, I don't get it. Okay, he had a tax thing. Okay, well, if he did something wrong,
Yeah. No, as I point out in my piece, the big aha moment in the Post piece was something like, the whole story indicates on how Biden's family may have cashed in on his public career. And my question is, okay, and
right.
so,
right,
like, if there's nothing illegal, if there's nothing going on, but again, this all goes back to the fundamentals we've talked about 100 times. Every news cycle is driven about what is the Republican Party
mad about,
upset about this today.
Yeah,
and a couple months ago was the John Durham investigation. Then it was the biolabs. Now it's the laptop. They just create these tornadoes of lies and confusion.
Yeah,
and the press chases every one of them around. I mean, it's just like. They go for the bait every single time. And again, why on ABC News yesterday, the Sunday morning show, it's supposed to be a serious look at our policy. I mean, there's a war going on. There's an amazing jobs report on Friday, and they mentioned Hunter Biden 19 times. I guarantee Fox News Sunday didn't even mention Hunter Biden 19 times yesterday.
Well, okay. Also, it goes to the both sides do it. This is the CNN headline: booming job growth is a double-edged sword for Joe Biden. You said this is what media lack of self-awareness looks like. I mean, Eric, that's what I was saying is we joke about stuff, but we played a bunch of Biden sound bites. Best ever. Mm-hmm. It's the best ever. Jobless rate on and on and on, and they just it's like it's a non-story that he is presiding.
But then it becomes deadly serious, and I just have a piece up this morning about the jobs coverage, and why is the press rooting against Joe Biden? Right. And there was a poll: 37% of Americans think over the last year the U.S. economy has lost jobs. Only 28% know we've gained jobs, and we haven't just gained some jobs; we've gained 7 million jobs. So. The American people don't know what they don't know because the press doesn't want to tell them, because that's not a storyline that they want to talk about. That Joe Biden has set the record since we started documenting job gains right around FDR in the 30s. Yeah. No new president has ever created this many new jobs. Unemployment's going to be 3% by midterms.
Cut the
That's
deficit.
Not a story they want to tell.
Cut the deficit. All their talking points. He's cut the. It's just
inflation, gas prices, inflation.
Right.
And I was just going to say, I pointed out yesterday. Or I pointed out on Friday. Friday morning, this jobs report: 400,000 new jobs. This is like the 11th month in a row, 400,000 jobs or more. I went to the Washington Post website Friday afternoon. You had to scroll down 87 headlines. 87 headlines to find this little one that said, yes, jobs are up, but uncertainty looms.
Yeah, New York Times. With gas prices surging after a Russian invasion of Ukraine and images receding of last summer's climate disasters, Republicans and oil companies are newly emboldened and calling for more drilling, imperiling President Biden's climate ambitions. And you just said oil companies aren't interested in more drilling because they're spending record profits buying back stocks from shareholders. Some days I marvel at the stupidity of the New York Times. And you just said reporters in the New York Times are clueless about the realities because the press, led by the New York Times, have given energy companies a total pass regarding rising gas prices. Thank you.
And all these publicly traded oil and energy companies are on the record. They said, we do not want to drill more. They lost a ton of money during the previous decade. And so they're completely laser focused on satisfying shareholders because they want those investors. So they're on the record. We are not going to drill more. We're not taking our record profits we're not spending that money to drill. We are spending that money to buy back stocks to make shareholders happy. And here's someone who writes about energy for the New York Times doing a story on the premise that oil companies want to drill now more.
Yeah, drill, drill. And there's 9,000 leases that they already have.
And they're not using.
Yeah.
That's because they don't want to spend a dime. They're fine with gas prices being high. They're fine with a tight supply market. They want to satisfy their shareholders. And reporters are running around like, they want to drill, but the Biden administration won't let them. It's insane.
Yeah.